Okay, so inshallah we will begin with the React classes, and for the people who are listening this, I've been teaching two brothers web development for around 5 to 6 months, and most of my classes are almost all of my classes were made private, but I have decided to keep these React classes public. So just to give a small background information, these two brothers, they have learned so far HTML. Okay, let me type that. So they have learned HTML, they have learned CSS, Git and GitHub, and they have also learned the basics of JavaScript and also JavaScript and also ES6. Okay, and they have also solved a good number of lead code problems, lead code easy problems, around 30 I guess, and yeah, so this is their background knowledge, current knowledge. So they have learned these technologies in a very good foundational way, and they also did some good number of projects in that. So the reason why I'm saying this is, if you're learning React, if you're watching this playlist, then if you don't have knowledge of these things, then you may not understand a lot of stuff. So I advise you first to learn HTML, CSS. You can skip Git and GitHub because we won't be discussing that much here. But as for the rest, like JavaScript and ES6, you can also skip solving lead code problems, okay? But as for HTML, CSS, JavaScript and ES6, then this is necessary if you want to understand these tutorials, okay? And the second thing is, only my voice will be recorded. So I have the brothers in the G Meet right now, but their voice won't be picked up, okay? So that's a technical limitation that I have as of now. So I'll be solving that inshallah in the future, but currently only my voice will be picked up, okay? So you won't hear what they are saying. So what we have been doing so far is, in React we learned the basic concepts like use state, use effect, props, how to define child components, and also we had a small look at event handling and how to work with input elements. So yesterday we started building a Todoapp. So we put the foundations, and today inshallah we'll be continuing that, okay, inshallah. So let me start the server here. Here on start. So we can see this is what we have done so far. So we are going to build a to-do app, and right now if you see, there is an input element and there's a small button here, okay? And I can type whatever I want here, learn React, and if I click on this button add to do, then whatever I typed here will be printed in the console, okay? So this is what we have done so far. So we'll be improving on this inshallah. So what is the next thing that we should do, okay? Can you say Abdullah? No. Yeah. So currently we are printing in the console, right? But we want to store that, not just print it, but whatever I typed, that should be stored somewhere, right? And where can I store it? Because since this is a to-do app, there will be more than one to-do, right? So what is the best data structure, or what is the best way to store these things? Yeah, there's no need for object, but array will be sufficient inshallah, okay? So what we'll do is, we will just store these things in an array, okay? And we'll print that array now. Instead of printing whatever just we typed, what we'll do is, we'll take that value, we'll put that inside an array, and we will print that array, okay? So that's what we are going to do now. And currently if you see, we are having this handle click function. So here, instead of console, printing that in the console, what we should do, we should push that inside an array, okay? So shall I create an array now? I can say, should I use a normal variable or should I use a state variable? It has to be state variable. If you use normal variable, then the array will be reset during every rerender, right? but we don't want to happen, right? We want that to persist, right? So it has to be a state variable. So I can say to do's set to do's, okay, is equal to use state, and initially it will be empty, right? So that's going to be an empty array. And right now if you see, we are putting this to do inside the task input component itself, okay, but in the future inshallah we'll be moving this to an upper level, okay. We'll be putting that in some other place, okay, but for the time being we'll put this here, okay. So what happens whenever I click on this button, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this task and I'm going to push this inside the to do's array, okay, right? So I can do set to do's, not set to do's, yeah, set to do's would be equal to what? To do's, can I do like this? Okay, first can I do like this, to do's dot push task. Is this right? This is right. Yeah, this is the array, right? To do's is the array, so I'm pushing it to do's dot push task. This is the new task, right? No, it's not okay, because we studied, right, states can't be mutated. This is mutation, you are directly modifying it, so this is not permitted. So what can we use instead? Okay, set to do's dot push. No, this is also not right, because here also you are modifying, right, directly. See, this line will be executed, right? This line would be executed, to do's dot push task. So this line would be anyway be executed, so that will mutate it. So this is not permitted. And also, what is the return value of dot push? What does it return? Does it return anything? No. It returns something, but you see here it's a number. This is a function signature, right? The return value, if you see, it's a number. Okay, append, so what is the definition here? Appends new elements to the end of an array and returns a new length of the array. Okay, so whatever elements that you are going to push, after pushing, what will be the length of the array? That length will be returned, okay. So it's going to return a number. So what happens is, you are sending a number inside set to do's, maybe 5 or 6 or some number will be gone. So that is wrong, right? That logic is wrong, right? Because we are supposed to store an array inside this variable, but once that line is executed, some number will be stored here. So our app will break. So what we should do is, we should send an array inside. We should send an array as a parameter for set to do's, okay? So for that, what I can do, I can use a spread operator, right? You have learned about this before. To do's task. Is this right? This is right. There is no mutation here. So since I'm using a spread operator, I'm going to take whatever to do's that are already available. Okay, I'm going to take that. It's like copying, right? And then I'm also going to add one more element here. Okay, and that array would be passed as an argument to set to do's. Okay, so this to do's will then have the updated list of to do's. Okay. So this is the right approach, okay? Here there is no mutation, and this is how we should do it. So let me change this name to do, okay? Instead of saying task, I can say new to do, okay? New to do, set new to do. This also new to do input. So once I set this, what shall I do now? I have to print this, right? So what I can do, I can, which line, Afi? 13th line. Yeah. So we are storing the list of to-dos inside this variable. Okay, this is a state variable, and then we have a function using which we can update that state variable, right? So that's why we are using this function here. We are calling that function. And what is the input for that function? That should be the new array. That new array should contain the old to-dos, also the new to-do, right? So what I'm doing is I'm kind of copying this. So this is the old to-dos, okay, and I'm using the spread operator to copy that. So, and I'm also using the new to do here, because new to do will be stored in this variable, right? So this array, if you see, will contain the old to do's along the new to do's as well, and then I'm passing that array as an input for set to do's. So what happens? This to do's will be updated to contain the new to do as well, and there is no mutation here because this will not mutate anything. This is like copying. Spread operator is like copying. Okay. So what happens now is, if I click on the add to do button, it will be added to the to do's array, and then what I should do now, we're just going to print right. So what we can do is we can use a use effect for that. You can directly print here as well, like console.log to do's, but we'll use a use effect for that. Okay, so use effect. So I'm going to do what? I'm going to watch or track or subscribe to do's, right? So that should be in the dependency array, and console.log to do's. So whenever the to do's are changed, whether a new to do is added or an existing to do is removed, this code will run. Okay, and this code will also run during the first time, right? When the component mounts. So let's see now. I have saved it. See, first we can see it's learn React. Okay, so we have some error. Use effect is not defined. New to do input is not defined. Okay, use state. New to do. This one. Okay. So now the error is gone. Okay. Now you see we have one element. Okay, let me reload that. See, so we have an empty array right now. Why? Because initially it is empty, right? This is empty, right? So the moment why we are saying learn React here, because the initial value for this variable is learn React. Okay, so that's why we are seeing it here. And the moment I click on add to do, what happens? You can see there is an array and it has one element, learn React. Okay, and if I go and add something else, learn React, learn Redux, you can see you have two elements now. Okay, so this is fine. Now we are noticing something, right? Whenever I type something and click on add to do, let's say learn next.js, the moment I click on add to do, it is added here. Okay, fine, but I want to clear this, right? I don't want that to persist, right? The moment I add a new to do, I want to clear this field. Okay, so what shall I do for that? I can write here, right? The moment I set the new to do's, I'll do what? I'll just go and clear this value here. I'll set that to an empty string. So what happens? This input will be updated, right? So let's check that now. Learn next.js. Okay. Learn node.js. See, it's cleared now. Okay, that's one thing. And another thing would be, if I click on add to do right now it's empty, right? If I click on add to do right now, what's happening is even empty strings are getting added. Do we want that? We don't want that, right? So I should do some sort of validation, which is, if that value is empty, then I'm not going to push anything inside it. I'm just going to do nothing. Okay, so this is like user validation. So whenever generally whenever you are accepting input from users, you always have to validate it, because it may have users data like this. This is going to be an users data, right? We don't want to push it. It can also sometimes contain malicious data. There are a lot of hacking or a lot of attacks that are well known. Okay, so like SQL injection, so things like that are there. So if you want to protect your software from harmful input, then you have to do that validation. Okay, so right now the basic thing that we can do is just make sure that if it's empty, then we won't push anything in the array. Okay, so what shall we do? Where shall we put that code? We should write some code here, right? Because when you click on the add to do button, this function will be called, right? So before I'm going to push there, I'll just check whether that is not empty. So how can I check that? Class name or ID name, why are you going for that? No, pick up the value, it's already here, right? That's what we discussed yesterday, right? We are using the control form approach. So the value will always be here. Whatever this input element contains will always be here actually. So there is no need to query like you do in normal JavaScript. Like using class names and IDs, there is no need to query like that. It's already readily available here, right? Inside new to do. So you just check that value. If that new to do is empty, then just return. Don't execute that line number 13 and 14. So how will you know if it's empty or not? Yeah, if double equal empty string. Okay, this is also fine, but you can also do other things like you can do like this. If not of new to do, this is also fine because an empty string is a falsy value, right? We discussed about this before, right? Truthy values, falsy values. So an empty string is a falsy value. So this thing, right? Not of new to do will return true for you if that string was empty. Okay. So if that is the case, then I'm just going to return. I will just come out of the function. Okay. I won't execute line number 14 and 15. So if I save this now. See, if I click on add to do now, nothing happens. Nothing gets printed in the console, okay? Because we are going to come out of the function, okay? Line number 13 and 14 won't be executed. This is like a reversing. If this is true, then not of true means false. If this is false, then not of true would be true, okay? So if new to do has an empty string, an empty string is what? It's a falsy value, right? So not of false is true. So this condition will pass and you will come out of the function, okay? So this is good. Now we can see we can add our to-dos and they get printed in the console, and if it's empty then nothing gets added, okay? So what shall we do now? Now what we can do is, instead of printing these things in the console, right, we can show them on the screen, okay? One by one. So for that, what I have to do is I have to take this list of to-dos and I have to use the map. We have map, right? Mapping the elements in an array, right? We studied about this before. Transforming every value to something else, right? So what I can do is, right now if you see, we have a list of strings, right? We have an array of strings. You take every string and transform that to an HTML division element. And then you show that on the screen, okay? So let's do that here itself, okay? And like I told you, we'll be moving some of the logic to a different component, but for the time being, we'll put everything here, okay? So what I can do is, I'm having division here, and here, right, between these two divisions, I'm going to render all the strings that I have inside this to-dos, okay? So what I can do is, I can take the to-dos, that's going to be an array, right? To-dos dot map. So what I'm doing here, I'm transforming each to-do into something else, okay? So I have to return something, right? The transformed value would be whatever you are returning here. So what I should do, I should return another division here, and that should have the to do. Is this right? So you take the list of to-dos and map them, and this is how this is syntax for mapping, right? So this is the each and every to-do will be coming here, and you are transforming that to an HTML div element. So initially what happens when the app is mounted for the first time, that will be empty, to-dos will be empty, so you won't be seeing anything here, okay? But the moment you add a new to-do, then this array won't be empty, okay? So if there's one element, then that one element will be transformed to a division here, and that division will be appearing between these two divisions, okay, inside this division. So if there is one division, then what happens? This array will be transformed to, let me show in the comments, okay. Let's say that you have an array which has learn react, okay. So if this is the to do array, then that will be transformed to what? That will become like this, okay. If you have two elements, learn react, learn redux, then it will be like this. There will be two elements, learn react, learn redux, okay. This is what's happening here, okay. You take that array of string and you transform that to an list of divisions, and that will be appearing between as children to this division, so it will be displayed on the screen, okay. So let's see. Now here we have a warning. We'll just neglect that for the time being, okay. But you can see here whatever we added is appearing on the screen, okay. So we have learn react first. Click on add. You see it's printed on the screen. Learn redux. It's printed there, okay. Learn next.js. So this is called as list rendering, okay. This is called as list rendering. Why you say it's a list rendering? Because this is an array, right? An array, or you can say it's a list, and you're going to render that, okay. Rendering means showing something on the screen, okay. So you take some data, okay, which is an array, and you display something on the screen. So this is called as list rendering, and this is dynamic, right? We are not hard coding anything here, right? This will work for any number of to-dos, right? If there are 100 to-dos, then 100 to-dos will be showed here. Okay, so this is list rendering, and there is one small detail that we should note here. If you look at the console right now, you can see there's a warning here. Okay, so warning means it will work, the code will still work, but it's better for you to remove that, okay. But error means the code doesn't work, it's crashed. If the app crashes, then it's an error. But warning means it won't crash, but it's like a problem that you have to fix, okay. If you fix that, then that will be very good. So right now we have a warning here, and it says each child in a list should have a unique key prop. The meaning of that is we are going to take that to do and we are going to transform that to a division, right? So there will be list of divisions, right? So if you have 5 to-dos, then there will be 5 div elements, right? And you should give each div element a unique ID. React expects that, okay, to function in the best way, okay? So you have to definitely give that ID. So what I can do here is I have to give this key here. This is not a HTML ID like this. No, there's something called as key, okay? So this key has to be defined, okay? And what I can do for that is I have to give some unique ID, right, for every to do. For that I can use the array index, right, because since we are using the array, right, so every element will have a unique index, right? Can there be duplicate indexes, duplicate indices? There cannot be. Every element in an array has a unique index, so I can use that itself. And if you look at the map method, right, this function that we pass as an argument to map method, that takes a first argument, and that first argument will have that element, and the second argument is the index of that element, okay. So I can use that here, okay. So let's say if you have an array learn react, learn next.js, so for learn react the index would be 0, for learn next.js the index would be 1, likewise. So what we are doing is we are just using that index itself, so that's very convenient for us. But even this is not recommended actually. It's like a I can say if you learn advanced React writer, they say you should not do this actually. But this is okay for the time being. For the beginner level, you can just use this, okay. But even this can be made somewhat better in the sense that you can use some third-party library. For example, you have Lodash writer. So let's go to the documentation and see. So in Lodash, that's the function using which you can generate unique IDs. Yeah, unique ID. See, that's the function in Lodash. If you use that writer, it will give you unique ID for you. So if you simply call that function for the first time, it will give you some unique ID, and if you call for the second time, it will give you some other ID. Okay. So you can use functions like this to generate unique IDs. But in our project, for the time being, we'll just surface with the index. Okay. So when you do like this, that warning would be gone, because right now what we are doing is we are giving every element a unique ID, okay, or unique key. So if I reload now, you can see that error is not here. Okay. Sorry, that warning is gone now. So this is the concept of list rendering. Okay. Now what we can do, we can improve this. Right now, if you see, this component has kind of become congested, and if you see, the name of this component is new to do input, meaning this component is supposed to just handle adding that new input, right? What I'm typing here and taking that value and adding it to the array. That is what this component is supposed to do, right? But you see, it's also rendering the list here. So what we can do is we can take this logic and put it somewhere else, put it in its own component, okay? And also, if you see this array here, right, to-dos array, this is living inside this component here, new to-do input. That's also not nice, right? Because this component just have to worry about whatever is being typed inside. And the moment I click on this add to-do button, it has to take that value and it has to like give the job to some other component. Can you hear me? Meaning in the sense that we can keep this component very simple. The component name is new to do input, okay? So what it will do is, when I type something and if I click the add to do button, it will take the new to do and it will just call some other component or some other function and say that this is the new to do that was added, okay? And it won't do anything else. Yeah, so as for the remaining job, like adding that inside the array, to do array, and then rendering that list, that can be done by other components. As for this component, it can do a very simple task. Okay, so what we should do is we should definitely remove this to-dos array here. Likewise, we should also remove this list rendering here, and we have to put it somewhere else. Okay, and to keep this component very simple. And where we are using this component here, and by the way, if you see in VS Code, if you select a particular function or component like this, and if you click on Shift Alt plus F12, you can see where it is used. Okay, this is where it is defined. Control Alt plus F12. Okay. Okay, there's a shortcut using which you can list the places where this function is used, but I forgot it right now. Okay, no problem. Yeah. So right now, if you see this new input component, we are using that inside the app.js file, right? Right here is where you're using, right? Even though the names have become mismatched right now, we'll change this. This should be new to do input, okay? New to do input. Okay. I think now it may work. Yeah. So what I was saying was, if you have a function like this, and if you want to see in which files these functions have been used, because we can import and export modules, right? I can declare a function in one file and I can use it in some other file, okay? And I can use it in many files, right? Not just one file. This function, this component can be used in a lot of places, right? So if I want to list all the places that it is used, then there's a shortcut in VS Code, which is you just select that name and press Shift Alt F12. It will list all the places that name is used, okay? As you can see in this file itself, new to do file, it is used in two places. One is this place, and if you click on the other one, you can see it is used here as well. And there's also another file where it's being used, which is the app.js file. There, if you see, that name is used at two places, here and here. So this is a very useful feature, because in a normal app, right, you will have hundreds of files and hundreds of components, and if you want to find all the places, then you can use this shortcut, okay? So right now we have to go to this app.js file, and here is where we are importing that component and we are using it here. So what we can do in this case is, I can take this to-dos and I can store it in the app.js component, right? I think this is the best place to put the to-dos actually. The reason is because this is the root component, right? This is the base component, right, for our app. So we will put the important data here, and whatever data is needed by the other child components, we'll just pass them as props, okay? So what I can do here is, I can take this to-do and I'm going to put this inside here. That's the first thing. Secondly, what I can do is, I can take this list rendering as well, okay? This code here, which is going to render that list of to-dos, and I can also put that here, okay? Now if you look at this component, okay, what about this? We can clear this out. Handle change, okay, this is fine, yeah. Now if you look at this component, it's very simple, right? Set to-dos not defined, to-dos is not defined, okay, yeah. So right now if you see, this component does only one thing, which is it has a new to-do and you can add it, but inside this handle click, right, what we are doing is, we are trying to push that inside that array, but that array doesn't exist anymore, right? We have moved it to the upper level, right? That is why we are getting this error here. It says set to-dos is not defined. So what I want to do is, instead of trying to do something like this, I'm just going to tell my parent what is the new to-do that was added, because that new to-do is saved in this variable, right? Can you follow? Yes, Aki. So previously what happened was, this set of to-dos, right, this to-dos array was living inside this component, right? So that was working actually, because what we are doing is, in line number 11, we are pushing that inside this to-dos, right? We are updating the to-dos array right here, line number 11. But now if you see, what we did was, we took that array and we are now storing it inside on the upper level, meaning on its parent. This parent is on upper level, right, compared to this child. So it is living here actually. So now this code won't work, because this is undefined, right? There is no such thing as to-dos here, right, in this array. In this component there is no such thing as to-do. So this is going to break, okay? So now what I'm saying is, instead of trying to do this, what we can do, we can just notify the parent what that new to-do was, and the parent can take the new to-do and it can do the pushing job here, right? So here what I should do is, as for this line, this is fine, this is the same. Once you have notified the parent, right, the parent will take care of the job of adding that to the array, and then we have to come and clear this is fine, line number 12 is fine, okay? But what I have to do in line number 11 is notify the parent about the newly added to do, okay? So when I click on the add to do button, I'm going to take that value and I'm going to notify the parent about that value, okay? And then what I'll do, I will clear my value that I stored here, because I don't need that anymore. Okay. Taiwahi, so what we'll do now? You are saying we move this code upwards. Yes, yes. The reason is because why we have to put this up is because here, right, we'll have other components as well. Like here you see we have this piece of code which is going to render that list right here. What we can later do is we can even move this code inside its own component. Okay, like I can create new component here, to-dos list.js. Okay, to-dos list. So there's a new component called to-dos list. Okay, so this component will take care of rendering that list now. Okay, so what I can do now is I can come here, I can take this logic, okay, and I can put this here. Okay, so now if you see, this to-dos list component will take care of rendering that list. But where will it get the to-dos from? We can pass that as a prop, right? So it has a props. So we'll say props.todos. Okay, so this to-dos component, it does not do anything actually. If you pass a prop to-dos for that, it will take care of rendering that. Okay, it's a very simple component. So what we can do, we can import this to-dos list component in our app.js component. And what I can do, I need to pass a prop for that, right? To-dos is equal to to-dos. A font, it has to be flower bracket. See, in this case, the to-dos is stored here, and I'm just passing whatever to-dos we have here, just pass that as a prop to this component, and that component will take care of rendering it. Okay, so we can see, right, putting this here in this place is a very convenient way, right? We have small components, they all will be doing their own job. It's going to be a very simple job. Okay, and if you put it here, it will be the best actually, but if you put it somewhere else, right, it won't be nice. So you have this question, right, how do I know where I should put? That you will come to know naturally. The more program that you write, you will know, you will realize what is the best place to put, and where I should be doing certain things and where I should not be doing certain things. That skill will grow automatically. Okay, yes. So right now if you see, okay, now if you see, I'm reloading that. Now you don't get any error. Okay, and if you see here, if I type something, learn React, and click on add to do, you see it gets cleared actually. This component is working as expected, right? This component should only do that, right? You should just clear up. Okay, the moment I click on that, but there's some communication that is missing actually. If you look at this to-dos component, right, this is also working properly. Right now it's empty. Okay, but if you give some value there, let me initialize that with some value. Okay, so learn front end, learn backend, then you see learn DevOps. If I save it now, you're also seeing the list here. Why? Because we gave some initial value for this, so there are some initial value on this to-dos, and that is passed as a prop to this component, and that component is rendering that. So the only thing that is missing here is what happens when I click on that input button. What happens if I click on that add to do button? I just want to notify my parent about the new to do, and if that parent pushes that new to do inside this to do's, then we can also see it here as well, right? That's the only thing that's missing right now. So inshallah we'll do this tomorrow. Okay. But until this point, you see how you understand things, right? So, can you think about how we can do it? One option is that I will simply pass this set to do's itself inside this function, inside this component as a prop. Okay, let me do it right now itself. We discussed this before, right? You can pass anything as a prop. It's not just arrays or strings. You can even pass functions as props. This is the function that will take care of modifying this to-do's variable. So I'm going to pass that function as a prop to this component here. So I'm going to save it. Now I know that this component is going to receive a props now. Okay. So let me destructure that. Okay. So what is the name of that prop? I'm destructuring that. What is the name of that prop? Set to do's, right? Yeah. So do it here then. Where is the spelling mistake? Set tops. Yeah, it's set to do's. Yeah, correct. So set to do's. Here I will do the same thing, which is a phone. Here, if you see, right, I need that old to do's, right? Existing list of to do's, right? Only then I can do it here. So you can see, right? This is not nice actually. So what I can do instead is I can just notify the parent. Okay, I won't set it by myself. The parent can do it. So what I can do instead is, okay, then we'll continue tomorrow, inshallah. Okay, let's not rush. Let's take it cool, inshallah. So I will just delete this. We'll continue tomorrow, inshallah. Okay. Okay. Naam, inshallah. So we'll see tomorrow. So how was the class, Akhi? Even I was a bit nervous because this is the first time, right? It's going to